Second part of our lesson today with identifying the type of system is going to be where we aren't given the graph, we're simply given two equations. In our case here, we have y equals 3x minus 1 and y equals negative 1/2 x minus 5. We're not worried about solving them today. We'll get into that later in the week. What we want to know is this equation going to be one that is consistent, inconsistent, dependent, independent. So step one, what we are going to do, if I can get to come up, is to put this equations into y equals mx plus b, if that's necessary. In our case here, we already have them in the form of y equals mx plus b, so step one is kind of a moot point. Step two is going to be to graph both equations. So when I look here, and I'm going to make this one my red equation, I see y equals 3x minus 1. The minus 1 tells me that I cross the y-axis at my negative 1. So I'm going to put my point there. And the 3 tells me I have a slope of positive 3. So I'm going to count up 1, 2, 3, and over 1. And then up 1, 2, 3, and over 1, since I need 3 dots to make a line. And I connect my dots, make my arrowheads, and I've got my first line. My next line, I'm going to go ahead and make my blue line. I see that I have a minus 5 here, so I'm going to count down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and put my dot at negative 5. And then I have a slope of negative 1/2. So that means I'm going to go down 1 and forward 2. And I'm also going to go up 1 and back 2, because then that way I can see what is going on and give a better picture since the red line is behind me. So what I'm actually going to do too is I'm going to extend out my red line a little further. And I see, when I look at this, I'm going to now do step 3, which is to identify the system type, and if there is a solution, circle it. So I see here that they cross right here. I'm not worried about what that point is right now. I just know that they cross, which tells me that my solution is consistent and independent. And I remember independent versus dependent, because if it's independent, it's going to cross, it's one and of itself. There's one solution. You're all by yourself, you're independent. Whereas if one line lies right on top of the other line, that makes it dependent because you're relying on that other line for everything. Let's move on to the next example using these same steps. And I see here, first step, I have to put these into slope-intercept form because they're both in standard form. So I'm going to start with my red equation, which is going to be this one here. 3x minus 2y equals 6. I want to get y by itself, so I'm going to subtract 3x. Remember, it's positive 3x, so we want to subtract 3x to get it alone. These cancel, giving me negative 2y equals negative 3x plus 6. And then I want to divide by negative 2. And I'm going to divide each term by negative 2 to make my life easier to remember. Butterfly method is division. Giving me y equals positive 3/2 x, because a negative divided by a negative is positive, minus 3. Then I'm going to go ahead and solve my blue equation, which is this one right here, with 6x minus 4y equals negative 12. So I'll first subtract 6x from both sides, giving me negative 4y equals negative 6x minus 12. Then I divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, divide by negative 4, which gives me y equals positive 3/2, because 6/4 divide changes to 3/2, x plus 3. So now I'm going to go ahead and graph these. So my first one, negative 3, slope of 3/2, so up 1, 2, 3, forward 1, 2, up 1, 2, 3, forward 1, 2, make my points, connect my dots, and I like to make my lines nice and long on these because then that way you know where they intersect and you can circle it if they do. My next one is positive 3, so I go up 1, 2, 3, and then I have a slope of 3 halves. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And I see here that because I have a 3 halves here and a 3 halves here, that they're parallel to each other as we learned in the last learning target, which make these inconsistent. All right, now I want you to go ahead and try these two problems. Identify the system by looking at this graph and then also graphing the equations that are listed here, y equals 2x and 4x plus 8y equals 8. And make sure you graph them and identify the system type. As always, write your summary if you can, and make sure you jot down any questions and bring them with you to class tomorrow.